Hey guys, welcome to another video in Bharat in Germany. My name is Bharat, and in this video, I have my brother from Kartik in Canada with me, whose name is Kartik, of course. So now we are going to sit down and discuss about our experiences of living 5+ years abroad. My brother, he lived in Canada for over 5 years, and I've been living in Europe. I started in Germany, and now I've been living all over Europe since the last 5 years. So we are going to head into the conversation. So I'm going to start with Kartik introducing himself. What is he doing right now? What is the occupation? What is the immigration status and everything? Because I know most of you guys are super interested about it.
Hey, thank you so much for the introduction, Bharat. My name is Kartik, as most of the people know already by the introduction that you gave. I came to Canada in 2016, and I came for my business administration accounting diploma. So I studied 2 years there accounting, and afterwards I applied for my post-graduation work permit, and I did get it, and everything went fine, perfectly fine. I did not use any consultant. Did the whole process myself, and it was pretty smooth. Afterwards, I started trying to find jobs. So in the beginning, I worked at KFC, I worked at Sears, so I worked anywhere just to get experience, because here in Canada, it's all about, oh, if you have customer service experience or you have any kind of Canadian experience. Because for a person who's right out of college, they don't really care about if you had any job experience back in India. They care about if you have any job experience here. It doesn't matter what kind of job experience it is. So I worked in a few of those places, but afterwards I went to a temp agency which places you in the professional services companies, and I started working at AECom. It's a pretty big civil engineering company, construction company. So I worked there as billing analyst, and afterwards I was just browsing through my LinkedIn, and I saw that there is a position available at EY, and I was like, okay, for sure. Why wouldn't I want to apply for this position? So that's exactly what I did. So I applied for the position, and I went for I did my phone
For,
interview.
for the people who don't know EY, Ernst& Young. So I think that's always better. So
Yeah,
you
Ernst
just
Young.
saw it on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I just saw it on LinkedIn. So Ernst Young is like one of the big four consulting companies. Before, they used to call it auditing, but now the consulting part has taken over most of the auditing part. But still, it's like auditing consulting company. Just like I was saying, that I did my telephonic interview, everything went fine, and then I went for the actual in-person interview, and it was pretty intimidating because it was the first time I was going to work in downtown, if everything went well, and everything went pretty well. And right now I'm working in EY for last couple of years. I just had my second year in February, so things are looking up pretty well. And also, after working for 1 year at EY, I was able to apply for my provincial nominee program. So right now I'm a PR. So that's a pretty good news. I just
That's
got
nice.
the news a month back. So yeah, I had to
From
have.
from
Yeah.
what I see, I don't know, for me, it sounds more complicated because I'm looking at all of this as an outsider. But so the first thing I understand is so you have finished 2 years now at Ernst& Young. Now look how less we have spoken to each other.
So
Everything is coming out on the camera, yeah. So
yeah, he's a
two
busy
years have
guy.
finished, right, in Feb?
2 years
Yeah.
I finished.
Okay. Okay.
So it was because my work permit was 3 years, because I did my 2 years diploma. So after doing the 2 years diploma, you get a 3 years work permit, post graduation work permit. So after that, yeah, because I had the experience in NOC 0 AB, which is something that they categorize as, like, there's some jobs which are in NOC 0 AB, which you need to be in if you want to apply for PR. But it's a little bit more complicated than
This
that.
sounds really goddamn complicated. I'm telling you guys. I mean, so first of all, what I understand is if you are having if you have done your studies in Canada, you do not automatically get the work permit. You have to apply for the work permit so that you can work afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
But so nobody rejects your work permit. It's
Yeah.
just that they want you to apply for another document. That's about it. Probably pay more fee.
Mm.
That's about it.
Yeah, this is very stupid. So in Germany, we just get the work contract and we just have to go to the foreigners office and register ourselves that we have now started working. So they just give an employment a visa. but we don't have to apply for anything. We go, we show them the work contract, they like re-register us from students as employees, and that's it. Like, everything
That's
is
it.
like, yeah.
Oh, okay. So here, how it happened. So they give you study permit for 2 years, and after 2 years, there is like a 90-day period, in which like that period you have after you're done finishing your studies, you can apply for your post graduation work permit.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they make you apply for it, because some people here in Canada, they just either don't finish their studies, or I don't know, something happens, and then you can't give them the work permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that could be one of the reasons. But here we actually fill all the different forms, then we send it to the IRCC, the immigration branch of the government, and then they issue us a working permit for 2 years if everything is fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think like we just completely skipped on my introduction. So I think like my brother and I, we went abroad around at the same time. I left for Germany in 2016, and he, before he was going to Canada, like he had a stay at like Hamburg, and he was with us for a while in August, I think. And then afterwards he like, of course, like went ahead for Canada. So like we moved outside India around the same time. And then like, of course, I started my studies, I started my masters. It started with structural engineering, didn't like it that much, moved to management, did my 2 years in management. Then afterwards we moved to Denmark for a while. We set up the business here, which is called Aero Diaries. So we rent out the house on Airbnb. Alina does wedding planning and things like that. And then in 2021 I ended up like starting my own marketing consulting company called Brandawise Consulting SRL, which is now incorporated in Romania. So we have been like, all over the place. So for me, like throughout all of this process, like of course things became a lot simpler because I got my permanent residency, not permanent residency anyways. I think I was able to get pretty soon, but the citizenship also I was able to get in what I think December, Helena, December 2019. Yeah. And the citizenship I was able to get in December 2019, so right around the time I finished my studies. So like moving around in Germany became very easy as a German citizen. Also, when you cross borders and stuff, the border checks that happen is for a very limited time. So that's pretty nice. And also like, I didn't have to then go ahead and like apply for any of, so my like path is like not very traditional. But even if somebody would have gone for a job or something, like they could just like easily get the work contract and like, re-register themselves at the foreigners office.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now Kiki, like, so you have been in Canada for a while, right? So what kind of things do you like and what kind of things do you not like so much?
So what I absolutely love here is that everything is so clean, like everything is so tidy. What I miss that I used to love in India was the food, of course. Most of the people who are going to come to Canada are going to miss it definitely, because we don't have like the street shops and stuff like that.
Mm,
Apart from that, when I came to Hamburg,
mm,
when I was coming to Canada, and on the way I stopped at Hamburg, my God, everything is HD. So
mm,
the first time I came to Germany, when I left from the flight, when I left from India, everything was so crystal clear, and I even remember telling you that
mm,
like everything looked HD. I don't know what's going on, because
mm,
just probably because of the air quality. And there's one thing I would say that I would have liked here in, I would say, Calgary, which you have there in Germany, is the buildings and the kind of small pathways that you guys have. Like Germany is very, very beautiful in terms of that. Here, if you go to Montreal, probably it's going to be kind of the same thing. But here in Calgary and here areas in the west is probably not as beautiful in terms of the building, but it is gorgeous in terms of scenery. You can go
mm,
here for hikes, for paddle boardings. You have thousands of lakes. So if you decide of going on hikes on weekends,
mhm,
you'll probably, even if you go every single weekend, you won't be able to do all the hikes here possible.
mhm,
Uh, Another thing I would say that I miss in India is like lack of having all these different rules. Even even when it comes to driving, my God,
yeah,
you have to be careful if you're driving fast enough. And I just bought a BMW a couple years back, and no, not a couple years back, actually last year. And I don't really like to like to drive under the speed limit, but because of the rules and all that stuff, you have to. And that was something that you could do easily in India. You're just going on a speed and you just keep going unless police catches you, and it's
Then
still
you pay the
as
fine or
yeah.
sit in the jail, right?
But the problem here is if police catches you here and if you're going at a very high speed, then you have to pay a lot of insurance. Like insurance here is disgusting. Like that's something I hate about Canada, the prices that we pay for insurance.
Mhm.
So I'm paying right now around $270 just for the car insurance per
Per
month.
month. This is
And
insane.
that's
That's the
that's
biggest
just crazy.
nonsense I've like ever heard. So fun thing. So we know about both like Germany and Romania. So in Germany, we were paying for car insurance. So like you can end up paying 300 euros a year, but we were paying what 600 euros a year. That was the cost for our insurance because we didn't have a lot of like driving years on our car. And now in Romania, for insurance, we are paying just I think 260 euros for an entire year. And the car tax, like for having the car on the road, like that's just like 80 euros a year. So in Germany, it was 100 euros or something. So like having a car is definitely like much cheaper. Are
Well,
the gas prices different, Kiki? Like with the how much is the petrol generally?
so here the gas right now is, well, they call it gas here.
Mm.
So the gas right now here is $1.40
Mm-hmm,
per
mm-hmm,
liter.
mm-hmm.
So well, $1.40 because I have to use the premium one, but otherwise like $1.30.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I
which
think
I
in
guess is
Germany the
kind of if you
prices are the
Mhm.
same, but like it's 130, 140, but in euros, right? So what is the general salary like in Canada once you graduate and stuff?
It all depends. It all
Okay,
depends on
yeah,
where
yeah.
you're working. So if you're working in Walmart, it's probably going to be around 36. Well, you get paid minimum wage in Walmart, so it's like $15 an hour, and you can just calculate how much is going to be for the full year. But if you actually go and get a job in a professional environment, like in actual companies, and you are doing some professional work, then I would say on an average, you can look between 45 to $55,000. So that's, I would say, is kind of an average here
Mm-hmm,
after you
mm-hmm,
graduate. Also depends what kind of course or degree, what did you do.
mm-hmm,
The salary that probably a guy who just did a diploma will get is going to vary from what a person who just did his bachelor's will get. So here when they're giving you the salary, they take into consideration all these small aspects. So if a person has a bachelor's, this is the level that they're going to pay. If a person doesn't have a bachelor's, he has a diploma, this is the salary that they're going to pay. So it depends on a lot of
mm-hmm.
different factors.
Now you told me that like the work experience that you have in India that does not really matter like when you're like trying to find a job here. So
No,
is it
so
just
that
at the starting ages or is it also like what is the story there?
I would say that's just probably in the starting ages, like when you have almost very little job experience in Canada and you came here as a student. Okay, so if you came here, let's say as a professional, and you just applied for your PR and you came directly on the PR, then it matters. Yeah, then they do take into consideration their experience
Mm-hmm.
from India. It's mostly for students because I know that a lot of students who come here to study, they just lie on their resume as well,
Mm.
and like so I'm assuming
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
that's one of the reasons that they just say that if you actually don't have a good professional background, then probably they just don't really care about that.
So do you see a lot of like Indians in Canada? Because like I think everybody says Canada is like little India right now. So is it true or like are there some like specific districts?
Not little India, probably probably in 5-10 years is going to be the big India here. And
So now, Kiki, I think one thing that we always discuss about is like, about the parents, like, like, can you call them easily to Canada or like, how does this entire system work? Because for Germany, at least, we don't have a system where you can like call your parents like without any kind of like hardship case. Hardship case is like when only one of your parent is alive and there's nobody back at home to like take care of them. Then you can like still invite them to live with you. And of course, like many times you have to show sufficient funds and things like that. when you're doing all of this. But in general, calling both of your parents together to Germany for a longer duration, it is not possible. Yes, they can visit you on a tourist visa, so they can visit you in a 6 month period, they can visit you for 3 months, and the same. So in a total of 12 months, so that is in a year, you can um, call your parents for 6 months in a total of 12 months. So what is the story with Canada?
So the thing about the tourist visa is the same. So you can call for 6 months. They cannot be more than 6 months here in Canada. But it's not as hard to get. So for example, if you get a PR, it's not that hard to get your to call your parents here and get them a permanent residency as well. So there is a special class that Canadian government has here that once you are a PR, you can also apply for the PR for your parents, and it doesn't really have to be that your parents are going through some hardship or something like that. So yeah, that is possible to be done here as compared to it's. I would say it's a bit easier as compared to Germany. So the program that they apply through is called the PGP. It is Parent and Grandparent Program. So how it works in that case is, for example, I was just reading online that for 2021 they are sponsoring 10,000 parents and grandparents who can come to Canada. Okay, so it's basically a number that they set, and then they just randomly pick people for that. And after once a person is selected, then they have to apply for the actual PR. And from what I know, that the processing time for this PGP program is usually between 20 to 24 months. So it's like almost, let's say, 2 years
Mhm.
before they can get their PR. So that is the timeline.
But that is not fixed.
That is not fixed, yeah.
So
So
that
of course,
happens.
with COVID, probably it increased a bit, but that's usual timeline that they provide.
But there's no draw or something, or there's a draw.
Yeah, there is a draw. They just randomly pick
Okay.
people who apply for their PGP, and after that, they invite them to actually
Mhm.
apply for the program.
In Europe, anyways, like it is not really that easy. Like you need to have a golden visa program. With golden visa program, you need to show at least like 300,000 euros in funds. You have to invest that money somewhere, and then you get the, of course, permanent residency. But like then afterwards, you have running costs. It's not like you just put the 300,000 euros once. You also need to have like enough income like coming in every single month. So all of these things are like a bit complicated. But I think like this is where think like Canada is interesting, because like people who do not have the desire of, let's say, learning German and stuff, I think like for them like Canada could be an interesting option. But I just still feel like, in Europe, the kind of like freedom you get of like just moving from one country to the other, like that is like very interesting. Because for example, Germany is great for like education, healthcare, job opportunities and everything, but like afterwards, once you start earning a lot of money, Germany is really bad for that. And like from a lot of money, I mean not the normal like, let's say 70, 80,000 euros. I'm talking about like half a million or like, million euros above, things like that. Then like you can just move to another country. So like we just then moved to Romania, and like afterwards we just like pay 1% tax on the entire revenue and stuff, which is like so much nicer. So I think like this kind of like freedom that you have of like moving from one place to the next, and like just choosing what fits your life at that particular moment, I think I find that like very, very nice in Europe.
I agree with
Now,
that as well.
yeah, I think in Canada you guys also have different, let's say, provincial like taxes, right? So like in Alberta you pay one, and another state you pay another taxes or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So we usually have like provincial tax, and then we have the federal tax.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different brackets for both of them that you pay taxes on.
Okay, okay. But if you want to, let's say, make a case for Canada, like what is the reason? Why should people move to Canada? I've made the case for Germany. So like Germany gives you access to Europe. You can move to any other country you want to without worrying twice about like, just like the paperwork and things like that over and over again. Because once you're in Europe, like the freedom of moving in one country to the next like becomes so much simple. So what's the story with Canada?
First reason would just be that a lot of people who are going abroad, sometimes they feel homesick, but here in Canada there will be lesser chances because there are so many Indians. So
Yeah.
you will be meeting so many people, and it's easier to get integrated. But what I always say about I'll say to everybody who's planning to come to Canada would be that when you come here, just don't go ahead and just get inside the Indian community and not talk to the other people, because overall that does not look really nice. And I see a lot of people do complaining about that, but I would say try to integrate within, like, because it's very diverse here in Canada. Like you can find people from everywhere. The case that I can make about coming to Canada is, first of all, PR. Like it's not that hard to get PR here. It's easier for you to call your parents as well, and then the study system is great as well. So you can you can just come here for, well. So these are the three major reasons I would say you should come to Canada.
Mhm. Now, about the permanent residency, can you remind me again, like how much was it? Like how when can you apply for the permanent residency? You have to study and study. Let's say like you study for 2 years, or how long do you study, and like when can you get the PR then in the end?
How it works here is, so if you come here for a program which is, let's say, 6 months, a 6 months course, you do not need to apply first of all for the study permit. In that case, you can just come here for your studies. But if you do a course which is 1 year or 2 years, then you do need to apply for your study visa. And once you do that, so for example, a person is doing a course for 1 year, then you get a post graduation work permit for 1 year. If you're studying for 2 years, then the post graduation work permit will be for 3 years. Once that is done, it depends on you. How would you like to apply? So there are two ways. One is called the provincial nominee program. So all the provinces in Canada, they have their own nominee programs. So you can apply through that, which is through the province. And the second one is the federal program, which is the Canadian Express Entry. So these are the two ways that you can apply. So the eligibility requirement for this is different based on each province, as well as when you apply directly through the federal government. So I applied through the provincial nominee program from Alberta, which is called AINP, Alberta Immigration Nominee Program. So basically what the requirement, the biggest requirement that was, is that you need to work in a skilled position for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is the only way that you will be able to apply. That is how I applied through the provincial government. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I would tell people to keep in mind, which I didn't know in the beginning, and I had to do a lot of calls to the government just to make sure about that, is if you are working, for example, I told you in the beginning that I worked through a temp agency, right? So if you're working through a temp agency, then that experience is not counted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do not just sit there thinking that even if you're working at a skill job, but it is through a temp agency, does not matter. It has to be an actual full-time permanent job. That is the only way you will be able to apply for the ANP program.
All right, so I think this is interesting. In Germany, you have the same system. Like once you study, you essentially get your permanent residency in 2 years. So you have to work for 2 years full time at company, and then after the end of 2 years, with your degree from a German university, you can also apply for the permanent residency. So I see like there is like not such a huge difference, at least like with the permanent residency part, because many people like have this myth, like Canada's like permanent residency is faster or something. Like you have to keep in mind that in Germany also, like in a scenario like this, for example, masters, you do a masters for 3 semesters, you work full-time for 2 years, you are able to get your permanent residency in 3.5 years, like with that kind of time duration. So like there are always things you can like kind of optimize for, and there are also like so many more things that you can like read up on. So for these kind of information, like check out my brother's channel, Kartik in Canada. The link for that I'm going to put in the description. And also we will be making more videos about like, our experiences of living in two different countries and so on my channel too. So also like, subscribe to both of the channels, and we are going to see you in the next video. Bye.